The run game is an essential part of any offense, and at the core of that is the running back. Though running backs aren't as utilized in today's NFL, they are still a very important aspect of an NFL team. In this video, I'm going to be ranking every starting running back heading into the 2025 season. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a like and subscribe if you're new. I spent a ton of time putting this video together, so hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel would be greatly appreciated. Thank you, and let's get started. Number 32, Jerome Ford, Cleveland Browns. Rashad Judkins was supposed to be the Browns starting running back this year, but with his recent legal troubles and unsigned contract, it's unclear how much he's going to play, if at all, so I decided to rank Ford in his place, which unfortunately means the Browns do have the worst starting running back in the league. Ford kind of lucked his way into 5.4 yards per carry, which on the surface looks impressive, but he only had 104 carries, so the sample size is really small. It's also the only time he's ever been an actually productive back. Other than a certain Bears running back I'm going to talk about in a bit, Ford probably has the worst vision out of any starting running back. He can take a perfectly well-blocked inside zone and bounce it outside. He can take a perfectly blocked wide zone and cut back inside. It's so frustrating to watch. Ford has athletic traits, but his almost impressively bad vision is what caused him to be number 32 on this list. Number 31, Javonte Williams, Dallas Cowboys. Once upon a time, we were looking at Williams as the next franchise running back, but after a brutal knee injury in 2022, Williams hasn't been nearly the same since. In his 2 years since the injury, Williams has averaged 3.6 and 3.7 yards per carry respectively. He's only scored 9 total touchdowns, and in this season, he was actually benched in favor of Jaleel McLaughlin and Audric Estime. Williams is just a shell of his former self athletically, and he doesn't have the vision or contact balance to make up for that. Number 30, RJ Harvey, Denver Broncos. I know the first unofficial depth chart doesn't list Harvey as a starter, but I fully expect him to be the RB1 by the regular season. The Broncos signed J.K. Dobbins to be a nice veteran presence, but everyone knows he doesn't have the durability to be a starter. That's why I put Harvey in this spot. Plus, Our Lad's depth chart lists Harvey as a starter, and they're usually on top of things. I like Harvey. I still think he was overdrafted, by a lot actually, but I do think he was a pretty good running back prospect. He's extremely explosive, has true 4.4 speed, and he was productive in college. He is smaller and has inconsistent vision, but I do think going to a Sean Payton-led offense is going to be very helpful. I think Payton can make Harvey's strengths pop and hide his weaknesses, something that was much more difficult with a less athletic Javonte Williams. Overall, Harvey still needs to prove himself, but I do think he'll do well in this system. Number 29, DeAndre Swift, Chicago Bears. If Swift wasn't as athletically gifted as he is, he wouldn't even be a starter, because his actual running ability is just not good. He goes down on first contact way too easily, way too often, and his vision might just be the worst in the league. He has absolutely no idea what he's looking at and will constantly bounce a well-blocked run outside when he doesn't need to. He relies entirely on his athletic ability. That was time when he was running behind the best O-line in football in Philadelphia, but that did not work in Chicago. He had just 3.8 yards per carry. He had 11 games with under 4 yards per carry and 5 with under 3. The only reason he even ranks at 29 and not lower is because he can occasionally put on a good performance due to his athleticism, and he also has been consistently productive in the receiving game. But overall, Swift is not a good back and wouldn't surprise me if he's no longer on the Bears after this season. Number 28, Ramondre Stevenson, New England Patriots. Stevenson has unfortunately not been able to return to his 2022 form where he was really good, and the past 2 seasons have been underwhelming to say the least. In 2024, he carried the ball 207 times for 801 yards and 7 touchdowns, averaging just 3.9 yards per carry. He also led the entire league in fumbles with 7, which is really bad considering he was 19th in carries, nowhere near the top. He also hasn't done much in the receiving game, and overall, Stevenson is fine, but not all that great. Number 27, Travis Etienne, Jacksonville Jaguars. It still kind of baffles me that Etienne is considered the starter because Tank Bigsby outplayed him in every way last year, but every depth chart I've seen lists Etienne as a starter, so I guess we're talking about him. I remember after his rookie season, it seemed like he was going to be a future superstar, but unfortunately, he hasn't quite lived up to the hype. The past 2 seasons, he averaged 3.8 and 3.7 yards per carry respectively, and he also only had 2 touchdowns in 2024. He was 7th worst in yards after contact per carry, and out of all running backs with at least 100 carries, Etienne was 3rd worst in missed tackles forced. He still does have some nice moments every so often and can still do some good stuff in the receiving game, but he has definitely fallen off since that rookie year. Number 26, Tyrone Tracy, New York Giants. A 5th round pick in 2024, Tracy exploded onto the scene in his rookie year, finishing with 839 yards and 5 touchdowns, averaging 4.4 yards per carry. He started seeing a significant workload in week 5, where he broke out with 18 carries for 129 yards against the Seahawks. From then on, he began stacking multiple good performances together and has emerged as a very solid back. He's not the biggest guy, 6'1", 210 pounds, but he's fast, shifty, and tough to bring down in the open field. He was also good in the receiving game, finishing with 284 yards and a touchdown. Tracy's main problem in his rookie year was the ball security, as he finished with 5 fumbles and 6 drop passes. He definitely is going to have to clean that up if he wants to be a consistent starter, but overall, I really like what I saw from Tracy in his rookie year, and I'm excited to see what he can do going going forward. Number 25, Brian Robinson, Washington Commanders. Robinson has always been a solid but not amazing back, but he is coming off the best season of his career. He finished with 799 yards and 8 touchdowns, averaging 4.3 yards per carry, all career highs. He also cut his fumbles in half from last year, going from 4 to 2. Robinson doesn't do any one thing outstanding. He's not the biggest, not the fastest, doesn't have the best vision, but he's very solid and very well-rounded. He's definitely someone the Commanders are comfortable with leading that backfield. Number 24, Jaylen Warren, Pittsburgh Steelers. In 2023, Warren was one of the most productive backs in the NFL, but he wasn't quite that good in 2024. He was still solid, rushing for 511 yards and a touchdown, averaging 4.3 yards per carry. He also had 310 yards through the air. Warren is a smaller but explosive back, and the potential for 1 or 2 big plays a week is definitely there. With Najee Harris no longer in the building, Warren is on track to be the starting running back for the Steelers, and I think he'll fill the role pretty well. Number 23, Chase Brown, Cincinnati Bengals. A 5th-round pick in 2023, Brown took over the RB1 job last season after Zach Moss got injured, and he played quite well, rushing for 990 yards and 7 touchdowns, averaging 4.3 yards per carry. He also added 360 yards and 4 touchdowns through the air. Brown is a smaller back, but he's fast, shifty, and explosive. He has locked the RB1 job down for the 2025 season, and I think he has a ton of potential to really break out. I expect him to be much higher on this list by the end of the season. Number 22, Isaiah Pacheco, Kansas City Chiefs. A year ago, we were talking about Pacheco as a top 10 running back, but last season was a bit of a disaster. He suffered a fractured fibula in week 2 that caused him to miss 10 games, and unfortunately, when he came back, he was just not very good. Pacheco averaged just 3.7 yards per carry in 2024 and only scored 1 touchdown. In the playoffs, he was even worse, averaging just 2.8 yards per carry and 0 touchdowns. He had career lows in basically every possible stat. I still like Pacheco, I think he's a good running back, but he has to prove he can get back to that 2023 form. Number 21, Omarion Hampton, Los Angeles Chargers. It's tough to say right now who the RB1 for the Chargers is, but considering Najee Harris' availability is in question, I'm going to say Hampton is a starter. I really like Hampton. He would have been the RB1 in most draft classes. He just happened to be in the same class as Ashton Genty. There's still a lot to like about Hampton, but the main thing is that he's just so well-rounded. He's got speed and elusivity, but he also has great contact balance, vision, and ball security. Hampton is a rookie and does need to prove himself, but I really like what I saw in college, and I think he's going to be a great running back. Number 20, Kenneth Walker, Seattle Seahawks. Walker's placement might surprise some, but the truth is, he hasn't been all that good in 2 years. He has been declining every season since his rookie year, and in 2024, Walker dealt with a lot of injuries, a theme that has plagued his career, and he ran for just 573 yards while scoring 7 touchdowns, averaging a mere 3.7 yards per carry. In the 11 games he played, Walker had 8 of them with less than 4 yards per carry. I still think Walker's a good back, but he's got to turn this declining trend around, and he needs to stay healthy. Until he does both of those things, I can't put Walker any higher than 20. Number 19, Tony Pollard, Tennessee Titans. Coming off back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in Dallas, Pollard went over to Tennessee and was, well, pretty much the exact same. A good, productive running back. He ran for 1,079 yards and 5 touchdowns, averaging 4.2 yards per carry. Pollard managed to ward off Tajay Spears and maintain the RB1 job. He isn't the biggest or fastest, but he's got good vision and contact balance, and is overall just a good back the Titans are very happy to have. Number 18, Alvin Kamara, New Orleans Saints. Kamara is now 30 years old, but he's still a very solid back who is and has always been good in both the rushing and receiving game. In 2024, Kamara was once again his usual self, rushing for 950 yards and 6 touchdowns, while adding 543 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. He hasn't really shown any signs of slowing down, even at his more advanced age. In fact, he was way better this year than last year in pretty much every way. There's not a lot of positive things to say about the Saints right now, but Kamara is definitely one of those few positives. Number 17, Breece Hall, New York Jets. A year or so ago, we were talking about Hall as one of the better backs in the NFL, but ever since that gruesome torn ACL in his rookie year, Hall's numbers have been declining. He went from 5.8 yards per carry in 2022 to 4.5 in 2023 and down to 4.2 in 2024, which isn't bad, but it is concerning that he's been declining. It seems like the ACL tear has really affected him and prevented him from reaching his potential. Luckily, he has consistently been one of the best receiving backs in the league, finishing first in receiving yards among running backs in 2023 and 4th in 2024. Overall, I still really like Hall, but I don't think he's a top 10 running back like he used to be. Number 16, Joe Mixon, Houston Texans. Mixon was brought into Houston to be their new RB1, and he did not disappoint, rushing for 1,016 yards and 11 touchdowns, averaging 4.1 yards per carry. Mixon had the most yards per carry, yards after contact per carry, touchdowns, and missed tackles forced since his 2021 season, and there were multiple games where he put the offense on his back. Remember, he was running behind a trash O-line. He did miss 3 games and is now 29 years old, but I still think Mixon is a very good running back. Number 15, Chuba Hubbard, Carolina Panthers. Hubbard was never really recognized as a top back or anything, but he absolutely exploded in 2024, rushing for 1,195 yards and 10 touchdowns, which were 8th and 11th in the league respectively, and both of which were career highs by far. He averaged 4.8 yards per carry and was 7th in the NFL in yards after contact per carry with 3.46. He really helped Bryce Young come into his own and have a great second season, and was probably the best overall offensive player for the Panthers. Hubbard's breakout was super awesome to watch, and I'm really excited to see what he does going forward. Number 14, Aaron Jones, Minnesota Vikings. Jones came over to Minnesota from Green Bay and had a really good season, rushing for 1,138 yards and 5 touchdowns, averaging 4.5 yards per carry. He also added 408 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. This was his first time being a true bell cow back, and despite having a history of missing time due to injury, Jones managed to play in all 17 games this season. However, there were a couple games where he got banged up and couldn't play the whole game, and his efficiency did decline as the season went on, especially from week 16 onward into the wildcard game. He also has always had ball security problems, and those unfortunately continued in Minnesota, as he had 2 drops and 5 fumbles. But overall, even at 30 years old, Jones is still a really good back and should provide a lot of support to JJ McCarthy. Number 13, De'Von Achane, Miami Dolphins. Achane didn't quite have the historical production he did in his rookie season, but he was the true RB1 this year and was still really good for the Dolphins. Achane rushed for 907 yards and 6 touchdowns, averaging 4.5 yards per carry. He was also by far the best receiving back in the league last season, catching 78 passes for 592 yards and 6 touchdowns, all of which were first among running backs. In fact, he was 24th in the entire league in receptions, ahead of guys like Mike Evans, Zay Flowers, and Alvin Kamara. There were many weeks, especially when Tua was out, where Achane put the offense on his back. I really liked what I saw out of Achane, and I think he has emerged as a really good running back. Number 12, James Cook, Buffalo Bills. Cook doesn't get a huge workload, but he has been one of the more efficient backs in the league the past 2 seasons, and especially this past year, where he ran for 1,009 yards and 16 touchdowns on his 207 carries, averaging 4.9 yards per carry. Those 16 rushing touchdowns were tied for first among running backs, and his 18 total touchdowns were tied for second. If Cook didn't have Josh Allen of his quarterback, who knows what kinds of numbers he would be putting up. But overall, I think Cook is a really good back who definitely deserves to get paid. Number 11, Kyren Williams, Los Angeles Chargers. Williams broke out in 2023, and though he wasn't quite as efficient in 2024 as he was in that breakout season, he did adopt a much larger workload and was still really good. Williams ran for 1,299 yards, which was 7th in the league, along with 14 touchdowns, which was 5th, and he averaged 4.1 yards per carry. Williams has never been the most athletically talented, but he is the poster boy for why you don't need great athleticism to be a great running back. Williams has incredible vision and contact balance. He is tough to bring down, and he is not afraid to get physical and run you over, even if he is a smaller back. Overall, I think Williams is a really good running back, though he does just barely fall short of the top 10. Number 10, James Conner, Arizona Cardinals. Conner is and has been for a while one of the most underrated players in the league. He had another really good season in 2024, rushing for 1,094 yards and 8 touchdowns, averaging 4.6 yards per carry. He also had one of his best seasons ever in the receiving game, catching 47 passes for 414 yards and a touchdown, those 414 yards being 6th among running backs. Conner is also probably the best pass protecting running back in the league. I don't put a ton of weight into pass protection when ranking running backs, but Conner is almost like a 6'0 lineman when out there in pass protection. He can take a blitzing linebacker or safety completely out of the play. Conner hasn't shown any signs of slowing down even at 30 years old, and I think he's a great running back. Number 9, Ashton Jeanty, Las Vegas Raiders. Some of you might think I'm insane for putting a rookie as the 9th best running back in the league, but I'll be totally honest, if I had to pick one running back for one game, I'm taking Jeanty over all of the guys I previously mentioned. Jeanty is the best running back prospect I've ever watched. He's arguably the best running back prospect since Barry Sanders. Jeanty put up absolutely ridiculous numbers in college, carrying the ball 375 times for 2,601 yards and 29 touchdowns. That is the second most rushing yards in a college football season ever, only behind Barry Sanders. Jeanty was 882 yards ahead of second place, which was Cam Scatterbo with 712 yards. In fact, Jeanty had more yards after contact, 1,970, than Scatterbo had total rushing yards. Jeanty has quite literally everything you look for in a running back prospect: elite physical tools, elite vision, elite contact balance, all of it. And he didn't do it as much in 2024 because he carried the ball so much, but he showed elite receiving ability in 2023. Jeanty is truly an amazing running back, and honestly, I'd be pretty shocked if he wasn't in the top 5 by season's end. Number 8, Bucky Irving, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 4th round pick in 2024, Bucky absolutely exploded in his rookie season and was legitimately one of the best running backs in the entire league. Despite only carrying the ball 207 times, Irving finished 10th in the entire NFL with 1,122 yards, along with 8 touchdowns. Bucky averaged 5.4 yards per carry, which was tied for 4th in the league. And unlike Jerome Ford, he actually has a proper sample size to go off of. He also led the entire NFL in yards after contact per attempt with 4.03, the only guy to go over 4. Similarly to Kyren Williams, Irving doesn't have the best athletic ability. He's smaller and not all that fast, but he displayed really good vision and contact balance, and it was just a nightmare trying to tackle him. Irving was incredible as a rookie, and I'm super excited to see what he can do going forward. Number 7, Christian McCaffrey, San Francisco 49ers. McCaffrey is super tough to rank because entering the season, he was the best running back in football, but in 2024, multiple injuries caused him to just play 4 games, and he was incredibly mediocre in those 4 games, averaging just 4 yards per carry, and he didn't score a single touchdown. We all know how good McCaffrey is when healthy, but he is 29 years old coming off an injury-riddled season, so while I think he has the potential to get back in the top 5, I simply can't put him there right now. Number 6, Josh Jacobs, Green Bay Packers. After a disappointing 2023 season, Jacobs went over to Green Bay and went right back to his old self, finishing 6th in rushing yards with 1,329 and 4th in touchdowns with 15. He also added 342 yards and a touchdown through the air. He carried this offense when Jordan Love missed time, and overall, he was a huge contributor to the success of this offense as a whole. Jacobs provides pretty much everything you want in a running back, and he is truly elite at his position. Number 5, Jonathan Taylor, Indianapolis Colts. After playing just 21 games in 2022 and 2023 combined, Taylor stayed mostly healthy throughout the 2024 season and was just as good as ever. He rushed for 1,431 yards and 11 touchdowns, averaging 4.7 yards per carry. To finish 4th in rushing yards despite playing just 14 games is really impressive. He had 5 games with 5 or more yards per carry, including a 218-yard game in Week 16 against the Titans. The Colts offense was shaky to say the least, especially at the quarterback position, but Taylor has solidified himself as a top 5 running back in this league. Number 4, Bijan Robinson, Atlanta Falcons. After being criminally underutilized in his rookie season, Robinson showcased all the talent we knew he had coming out of college, and he had an incredible season. He finished 3rd in rushing yards with 1,456 and tied for 5th in rushing touchdowns with 14, averaging 4.8 yards per carry. He was also really good in the receiving game, catching 61 passes for 431 yards and a touchdown. On top of all that, he finished 2nd in missed tackles forced with 70. Robinson probably is the best jump cut in the entire league. He is quite literally impossible to tackle one-on-one. He also has elite vision and contact balance, and overall has easily solidified himself as one of the best running backs in the entire NFL. Number 3, Jahmyr Gibbs, Detroit Lions. To me, Gibbs and Bijan are pretty interchangeable. You could put one over the other and I wouldn't care. Both of these guys are absolutely elite. But focusing on Gibbs, he was incredible in 2024. Despite splitting carries with David Montgomery for most of the season, Gibbs finished 3rd in the NFL in scrimmage yards with 1,929 and led the entire NFL in touchdowns with 20. He also averaged 5.6 yards per carry, which was 3rd. Gibbs is one of the most explosive backs in recent memory. He's so fast and shifty, and when he gets into the open field, you are not catching him. He also has incredible vision, and to be honest, I think this season, he fully takes over as the RB1 for Detroit and has another incredible year. Number 2, Derrick Henry, Baltimore Ravens. Time and age is a foreign concept to the king, as despite being now 31 years old, Henry hasn't slowed down at all. In fact, he just had the best season of his career other than his 2,000-yard 2020 season. Henry carried the ball 325 times for 1,921 yards and 16 touchdowns, averaging 5.9 yards per carry. He had more 100-yard games than he didn't, only had 1 game below 4 yards per carry, and had only 6 games below 5 yards per carry. He was also really good in the postseason, averaging 6.4 yards per carry and scoring 3 touchdowns. We all know how much of a physical freak Henry is. Trying to tackle the 250-pound monster one-on-one is basically death sentence. Normally, I'd be concerned about a 31-year-old running back, but not with Henry. Number 1, Saquon Barkley, Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, Saquon Barkley was going to be number 1. He's coming off a historic season. Barkley led the entire NFL with 2,005 rushing yards, averaging 5.8 yards per carry. Barkley is just the 9th player in NFL history to rush for 2,000 yards. Barkley had 2,283 scrimmage yards in just the regular season, which is 13th all-time, but his 2,857 total scrimmage yards when including the playoffs is the most all-time. He is the closest we have ever gotten to a true 3,000-yard season from a running back. Barkley is an incredible football player and absolutely deserving of the title of best running back in the NFL. But that's it. Those are my rankings for every starting running back in the NFL. Where do you agree? Where do you disagree? Comment below. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a like and subscribe if you're new, and that's it for me. See ya.